You're walking alone at night. The streetlights suddenly go out. The road and the houses are still there. Nothing has changed. But your body has. Your heart starts racing. Your pace quickens. Without even thinking, you glance over your shoulder. Just the faintest sound is enough to make you jump. Why? What is it about the darkness that makes almost everyone on Earth feel uneasy? Were we born afraid of the dark? Or is your brain remembering a world you never actually lived in? A world where night didn't just bring silence. It brought predators, and one small mistake was enough to turn you into someone else's next meal. Now, let's turn back the clock. About 100,000 years ago, the sun has just set. Only darkness remains. No lights. Even the moon isn't bright enough to illuminate the entire forest. Everything has disappeared from sight. You're not the only creature out here, because this is exactly when the night hunters begin to emerge from their hiding places. The whole forest seems to change shifts. The daytime birds fall silent. The insects begin to sing. Pairs of glowing eyes appear in the darkness. Lions step out from the tall grass. Leopards climb down from the trees. Hyenas follow scents drifting through the wind. Venomous snakes glide across the forest floor. Scorpions crawl out from cracks in the rocks. And somewhere nearby, a crocodile waits patiently by the water's edge. They don't fear the darkness. They were born to rule it. While you're straining your eyes to see, they simply have to follow your scent. While you're trying to listen, they already know exactly where you are. That's an advantage humans never had. Human vision evolved to work best in daylight. By contrast, many predators possess eyes specially adapted for low-light conditions. Their pupils open wider. Their retinas are far more sensitive to light. Some species even have a reflective layer behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum, allowing them to reflect light back through the eye and dramatically improve their night vision. Humans don't. That's why the moment the light disappears, our greatest advantage disappears with it. But perhaps the most terrifying part is not knowing whether something is watching you. That was the reality our ancestors faced every single night for hundreds of thousands of years. Nights just like these quietly shaped the human brain. You try to peer deeper into the darkness, but the longer you stare, the less certain everything becomes. Is that a tree stump, or an animal standing perfectly still? A patch of grass, or something slowly moving closer? In the natural world, recognizing danger just a few seconds too late can already be fatal. A dry leaf falls. Then, the entire forest suddenly falls silent. Even the insects stop. That kind of sudden silence is often a warning. Somewhere nearby, a predator may have just arrived. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our ancestors learned to recognize those signals at the cost of their own lives. Those who reacted quickly had a chance to survive. Those who ignored them rarely lived long enough to tell the story. Over time, the brain began to prioritize vigilance. Better to raise a false alarm than to overlook a real threat. That's why, even today, a single faint sound in the darkness is still enough to make your heart race. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do over hundreds of thousands of years. But perhaps the most frightening part lies in what your own brain creates in the darkness. Try staring into a dark corner after turning off all the lights. A jacket hanging over a chair suddenly looks like someone standing there. A tree branch outside the window looks like an arm reaching toward you. A shadow flashes by. Was it real, or just your imagination? In reality, your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Neuroscientists call this predictive processing. Instead of waiting for your eyes to gather enough information, your brain is constantly predicting what's ahead. During the day, that hardly matters. There's plenty of visual information. A rock looks exactly like a rock. But once night falls, information becomes incomplete. Edges begin to blur. Shapes lose their definition. And that's when your brain starts filling in the missing pieces. It always chooses the safest possible explanation. If a shadow could be a leopard, treat it like a leopard first. If it turns out to be just a bush, you've only lost a few seconds. But if it really is a predator, that caution could save your life. Simply put, the human brain is wired to assume that a living being is present, even when there isn't enough evidence. That's why you often feel as if someone is watching you in the dark, even when there's no one there. Or why you suddenly see a face in a rock, a figure behind the trees, a pair of eyes staring from the bushes. Most of the time, it's nothing more than a trick of the brain, but hundreds of thousands of years ago, making the cautious mistake was always safer than making the careless one. That simple rule helped humans survive countless nights throughout our evolutionary history. But your brain has another mechanism, one that's even more powerful. It can make your entire body react before you even realize what you're afraid of. Behind that response is a small part of the brain called the amygdala. You can think of it as your brain's alarm system. What's remarkable is that the amygdala reacts even faster than your conscious mind. Before you even realize what's happening, it has already made your heart beat faster, your breathing becomes quicker, your muscles tense up, your body prepares to run or fight. Numerous neuroscience studies have shown the amygdala can process threatening signals in just a matter of milliseconds, long before you're consciously aware of what you've actually seen. Today, you're unlikely to come face to face with lions or leopards. But your amygdala doesn't know that. It's still doing the same job it has done for hundreds of thousands of years. And that's exactly why a dark hallway, an empty alley, or a forest in the middle of the night can still make your body instinctively prepare for the worst. Interestingly, the fear of the dark appears surprisingly early. Even in young children, no one has to teach them to be afraid. But the moment the lights go out, they instinctively move closer to an adult. Psychologists believe this may be a survival instinct shaped by evolution. Tens of thousands of years ago, staying close to your parents, close to the fire, meant a much greater chance of surviving. Humans learned how to control fire. It was one of the greatest turning points in our evolution. Fire pushed back the darkness and drove away many predators. It transformed a shelter into a much safer place. But even though fire could light up the night, it could never erase the fear that had already been carved into the human brain. Perhaps darkness was never the real enemy. What truly frightens us is what we cannot see, what we cannot predict, and what we cannot control. Today, you no longer have to face predators every time night falls. But your brain hasn't forgotten, because compared to the hundreds of thousands of years humans spent living with darkness, we've only lived with electric lights for the briefest moment. To your brain, night is still a symbol of uncertainty, and perhaps that's why the fear still lingers, because evolution never forgets the lessons that once kept an entire species alive. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and join us as we uncover more fascinating stories about history, evolution, and what it truly means to be human. What topic should we explore next? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.